JKB back with another episode, and today on the show I'm reviewing Bladed Fury for the Nintendo Switch. Thank you to the dev for sending over the review copy. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon, that way you can be notified when I upload new videos. Thank you. Bladed Fury is a 2D action platformer game with very precise combat, which I absolutely adore. The game is also completely and utterly dripping wet. I don't know why I said that. With Chinese history and mythology with surreal elements. Sorry. As for the story, I will not spoil any of it because, well, I'm gonna say now, this is a must-play. It involves two sisters that fall into a tragedy involving their father. I should also say that this game, like I just tried to say earlier, in a ridiculous way, is so jam-packed with Chinese traditional art and sound design. It is breathtaking at times that I'm taken right to the exact precise moments they want you to be in based on the art design and the sound. You are so involved into the game because it is passionately made. So getting the visuals right out of the way off the start here, I am so impressed with the art design. Like I've said many times on the show, there's many times that I play games and I know within 2-3 hours or even minutes if the game's going to really be good or not based on what I have experienced visually and with the controls. And this is one of those games that knocked my socks off. And trust me, that's hard to do because I don't wash them. So if you're looking for an extremely wet Chinese traditional experience, oh my god, this is it. In terms of level design and platforming, you won't be jumping too much in this game. It's more about the fluid combat and the combo system that's going to keep you addicted and coming back over and over and over. The game features two attacks that can be strung together to create amazing combos, as well as pushing in the directional pad to pull off incredible combos. Now, the light attack is much faster than the heavy attack, of course. It follows suit of all of the other games in the genre. However, this game is so fluid in its combat that I have to give it shining remarks right off the bat. You're going to get so addicted to getting into the combat that it's almost frustrating waiting for combat to happen. That's how good it is. There's something so rewarding, something so deep in you that you feel when you take down an enemy in this game because of the slashing. The sound effects and the animation come together to create, well, like I said, it goes into that Chinese traditional mythology and sound design and everything. That all comes together to create this rewarding feeling that you just don't get. Like when you hit people in this game, the impact that you feel is different than a lot of these games. They try to do this, they just don't pull it off. This game nails the sensation of swinging a sword. I know it sounds silly, but that makes the combat so good. I should also point out you have the ability to dash midair, and of course there's a lot of combat that does take place in the air, and the directional pad plays into that. So you have to really focus in on where you want your upgrade system to go, because yes, at the checkpoints in the game, you're able to spend the currency you get from killing enemies on upgrading your combos. In terms of enemy design, you'll come across the simple enemies, skeletons, and floating enemies in the air, and you also get mid-bosses and boss battles. Everything in this game feels incredible to get into. The combat is one of my favorite experiences in an action 2D platformer that I have gotten into in the last maybe couple of years. It feels so smooth and rewarding. I can't reiterate that enough. So in terms of the enemies, you'll have a blast with all of them. Some of them have armor that you need to knock off. Now, I think a lot of people don't really like that in gaming, but in this type of game that fits into the Chinese tradition of that armor, I think it fits perfectly in this game, and it's a difficult thing to do in the game at times, to take the armor off of an enemy while you're being attacked from behind from a bunch of different grunts. It's an interesting situation, and I love the combat in this. And like I said, you have the ability to save at the checkpoints, but also spend your money and currency in the game on upgrading your character, and that's one very important aspect of the game as well, because it will open up the combo systems in ways that you just don't expect. You also have special abilities that unlock deeper into the game that just add a whole other layer to the combat, and it is so good. And my favorite part of the game, which is outside of the game itself, is challenge mode, where you are essentially going into battle combat situations and trying to survive and attacking enemy after enemy. And this is where the game is a blast to play, because the combat is just a 10 out of 10 on its own. The combat is incredible. Overall, I'm going to give the game an 8.5 out of 10 on the Switch. It does have a slight little hiccup in its frame rate, which does lower it a little bit because the combat is so fluid. When you're playing on the PlayStation 4, this game is as smooth as butter. But on the Nintendo Switch in docked mode, I was experiencing slight hiccups here and there with my character while she was in mid-air. And this isn't really a negative thing to say, but at the beginning of the game, you are just hammered with the pacing slowing down to a crawl and getting, obviously the mythology of the story has to be told in one way or another. But at the beginning, it seems like it's constant. You get into a fight with 3 enemies and all of a sudden you're into it, and then you're not into it for about 5 minutes of dialogue. Some people, yes, are going to find the first 10, 20, 30 minutes of this game kind of frustrating. But once you get by that, there's a secret gem in this game, and it is the combat, and you're going to love it. This is one of those games where the screenshots do not do it justice at all. You need to experience it for yourself. If you're into the hack and slash genre, this amazing 2D artistic game is exactly what you need to get into. I'm assuming, I haven't played it too much on the PlayStation 4, but the overall experience in terms of performance is probably much better than the Switch, which is what this review is. So if you have both, I recommend it for the PlayStation 4 over the Nintendo Switch. In terms of how long the game is, it's going to come in around 4 hours depending on how much backtracking you do. There are sections where you can have a bit of an option if you want to do that or not. I highly suggest to get into as much combat as possible. The team over there that made this game should be proud of themselves, because they set out to make something that was passionate, something that was from their hearts, something that they grew up on. I mean, this art design, this music, and the mythology of this game comes from a special place. You can't just create this. You have to live it. You have to breathe it. And they've nailed it. I can't say anything better than that. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode of JKB.